I wanted to call this series Eat the Rainbow, not just because eating the rainbow is good for you, but I also think colors in food can tell a really beautiful story. It's my hope that in this series, you get the knowledge, technique, and fluidity necessary to make cooking at home feel fun. The merriment of food and feelings inspires me to no end, and hopefully, it will for you guys too. The color mood we are focusing on today is yellow, which is very exciting to me. It's one of my favorite colors to wear. It's one of my favorite colors to cook with. We are gonna make some polenta with some beautiful mushrooms, some thyme, a little chili oil. Polenta feels really intimidating to people for some reason. Like at home you make pasta, maybe you make rice, but like polenta, you just like avoid it. I'm gonna make it really, really, really simple for you. I'm technically from Florida, and in Florida, it's like the poor man's polenta. We call it grits. And so that was probably the first time I ever had something polenta-ish. Now grits are very, just like the word, they're very gritty. These are fine ground. This is fine ground corn, so it's gonna be really, really tender and nice and soft, and just how like maybe when you go to a restaurant and you have, and you order polenta. Let's start first with the polenta. This is a heavy bottom Dutch oven. You can use a regular pan if that's what works for you. This is about 1.5 cups of stock. So I'm gonna throw that in. Basically 4.5 more cups of water. So you want 6 cups of liquid. Okay, so there's 2 cups. So in here is about 4 cups of liquid already. So we're gonna do 2 more cups. I am using stock because anything you add in here is gonna impart flavor into your polenta. Add some garlic. Don't need to chop anything. You don't need to mince anything. You can literally take these babies and throw them right in. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a soft polenta, so it's gonna be kind of creamy, have mushrooms on top of it, it's gonna be so yummy. However, if you wanted to make this and you wanted to dry it in a sheet pan, let it set, cut it into shapes and fry it up, then you would have polenta fries. Or one of my favorite things to do actually is to make polenta, let it set, cut it into almost like sheets, like pieces of bread, and then have some avocado or some beans on top of it. So it's almost like a polenta toast. Delicious. So right now we're gonna let this come to temperature. We're also gonna salt this. This is the one time we have to add some flavor here. We've already got our smashed garlic happening in there. And we're gonna let this come to just about a nice simmer, like not anything crazy. We don't need it to boil. This is the pan for our mushrooms. Let's talk about our mushrooms. So we have lion's mane, which are these funky looking guys right here, right? And we have shiitake, and then we have regular baby bellas. So mushrooms, they should be really nice and dry. They shouldn't be funky. They shouldn't be sweaty feeling or kind of slimy feeling. If they are, they're probably no good. And the cap should come apart from the stem really easily. In particular on the baby bellas or portobello, the cap should come apart really nice. Taking these apart with your hands, and it also goes for a really nice texture, which is really, really pretty. Texture is what we want because polenta's kind of, you know, it's creamy. It's a nice base for some texture. I know so many times when you see people cutting mushrooms, they're dicing them or making them look really perfect. This is definitely not the recipe for that. What you would want to do is you want to take like a paper towel and just kind of dust them off. The gill should be nice and clean. Nothing kind of, no like weird mold growing in there, nothing black growing on the inside. That lets you know it's a good mushroom. You want to make sure there's no crazy sandy dirt in there. But these are really good. And you see how that came off? Like it should really just pop off really simple. Like I said, if it's a struggle, that's no good. And I think a lot of people don't understand how delicious mushrooms are like on their own. Like they're so yummy. And the lion's mane ones in particular are kind of meaty. Like this is a very filling dish. And I think a lot of people think that maybe like a plant-based dish like this one wouldn't be super like filling, but this one definitely is. Feel free to use ghee. If you don't care about this being plant-based, ghee is perfectly acceptable, arguably more delicious than a vegan butter or just using oil as well. So this is I'd say about a good simmer right here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of start stirring the water. This is similar to like risotto, right? So kind of start simmering the water and stream this polenta in slowly. This is about 1 cup of polenta. And as you stream it in, keep stirring it. Keep stirring it. You don't want to put it in all at the same time. But I like getting a well going because you're keeping it from sticking at the very beginning. You're really keeping the stir going. And this will start to thicken quickly. That pretty yellow color is already happening. So as I'm stirring this, it seems like, what? That doesn't seem like it's getting thick. Just wait. It will thicken up. It will thicken up quickly. But the key, when I think creamy polenta, is you really want to keep it moving. You want to keep stirring it. It definitely is getting thicker, but this is a crucial moment in which you really should continue to stir. I think some people think they need to stir the entire 30 minutes it takes for polenta to cook, but that is definitely not true. It's these very first 5 minutes that you want to make sure you stir so that it doesn't stick. We're going to add some cashew milk, which I think is really, really great at keeping it nice and creamy while also keeping it vegan. The ratio is pretty intense. It's a 1 cup polenta to 6 cups of liquid. And we're still going to add more water. Keep the temperature at a simmer. I would never have polenta on boil. Sometimes you see recipes that say to have it boiled, but this is a slow and steady sort of thing. And also, I don't know, it's so interesting looking. Like, it's such a beautiful bright yellow. And as you can see, it's like majorly thickening up. And we're keeping the stir going. And in about, I don't know, say about 1 more minute of this, we're gonna pop a lid on it and let it cook for about 15 minutes. When we do put the lid on, you wanna check on it every 3 minutes or so, which sounds like a lot, but it's really just to keep it nice and stirred up. If for some reason it gets stuck to the bottom of the pan, don't worry, just stir. We're gonna add, like I said, some cashew milk. And if it does get a little too thick for you, it's okay to add more water. It's not a problem. Feel free to add more herbs here. If you want to add thyme, sage would be really nice. A bay leaf would be really yummy. I'm gonna save a lot of the seasoning for the end, but please, if you want to impart more flavor at the very beginning, that's like totally a thing. You could add chipotle peppers if you wanted it to kind of be spicy or Mexican. You could add turmeric to this too, and you probably wouldn't even taste it. It would just be extra bright, orangish yellow, which is pretty cool. Culturally, yellow means lots of different things. You know, in the US, you might hear yellow means happiness, or it might mean encouragement or loyalty. In Japanese culture, yellow means courage. But there are some cultures that yellow means caution, or it means fear, you know? And so I think that for me, a lot of those emotions really tie into food deeply for me. The connection between food and feelings is kind of like all there is. Like, you think about how many times somebody's asked you, like, what do you feel like having for dinner? You know, like, I feel like those two things are so deeply entrenched. So I guess for me, the idea of the relationship between color, food, and feelings is kind of like, why are you eating what you're eating? You know, it's really about asking those sorts of questions. I mean, I feel like a lot of us are like, oh, this is healthy for me, so I'll eat it. But I think it goes deeper than that for me. It's really about how the food makes you feel even before you put it in your mouth. Like, while I'm looking at, like, wow, what does this make me feel like, you know? When something looks really beautiful, like at a restaurant, you want to eat it. I think that yellow is one of those things that you easily forget about it. And then once you see it, you're like, wait, involve it, you know, get it involved, you know? And then we're just visiting this. We're just giving it a nice stir and just putting the lid right back on. For a lot of people that can't tolerate corn, I totally understand it. I don't have any issues with it as long as it's organic and it's non-GMO, which is possible to get. I don't have an issue with it. I'm a huge popcorn person as well, which is another yellow thing. But I'm a huge fan. And I think that polenta is one of those things you can make at home that will last and it will keep, just like a potato. I don't like food shaming in any way. So, if you're someone who doesn't do corn at all, oh my gosh, the mushrooms would taste just as delicious on top of potatoes, on pasta, on rice, on quinoa. I just think that for me, I really wanted to highlight such a beautiful ingredient. I think polenta is so versatile, and it really does a great job of telling a yellow story for me, a happy story, because it's something I used to eat when I was a kid all the time, and in the grit form. One of the very first videos that I did with Violette, we did a forbidden rice, like a porridge, and I recommend eating it for breakfast. However, a little bit of honey, a little bit of maple, that thing is just as great as dessert. I feel like polenta is absolutely one of those things. You can add some maple syrup. I mean, even in Florida, you'll see shrimp and grits, but then you'll also see like grits with maple. Like, that's a thing, you know? I mean, they take like bacon and maple syrup, and part of the reason I really wanted to do yellow and really focus on it is it's such a feel-good color, and it is a color that so much inspires just my mood in general. Like, if I'm not feeling well, yellow is like instantly a pick me. I mean, like, this doesn't make you happy? Like, what's wrong with you? So even when making this recipe, like I sort of like challenge you or challenge the viewer to like, what brings you joy, you know? Because I think that we don't really think about that. Sometimes it's hard, I get it. Like there's so much going on in this climate. There's so much happening right now on the planet. But I do challenge people to sort of figure out, and in the way that you know what makes you unhappy, like figure out what makes you happy, you know? And if you're struggling with that, a color is a great place to start. If you are in a place where like you're not understanding what makes you happy, there's so much bad stuff. Depression is real, especially right now. And right now is crazy. It is crazy in the world. Finding a good color and sort of going off of that is really helpful for me. You know, if I just start and wake up with just yellow in mind, even if I can't find any sunshine because it's in New York and it's just gray, if I start here and then I figure out, okay, how can I incorporate more yellow? What outfit can I put on? You know, what eyeshadow can I put on? Like for me, that's how I find my joy. And I think that for a lot of other people, that's a really great place to start if you're struggling with joy as well. This idea that like being a chef it's this thing that it's just such an elevated thing. And listen, I'm a chef. It takes a lot of work, but does it? I think in a lot of ways, like I want to sort of challenge that conversation. All you have to be anything, to be a painter, to be a chef, to be any kind of artist is just have a little spark of something, you know? And obviously we talk techniques, that's when I'm here and I'm helping you out with that part. But at the end of the day, the only thing that got me in the kitchen today was just this color. That was really that was my inspiration when I was at the grocery store. That was my inspiration just to even wake up in the morning. What do I feel like eating? You know, and I think that there's this idea that being in the kitchen or being a chef or being a painter or being any kind of visual multimedia artist means you need a bunch of things. You really just need your feelings, ultimately. Like, I brought nothing into the kitchen today except the color, and like, we're making a whole meal out of it. Just cooking away. So this garlic will end up kind of breaking up, you know, and kind of doing its own thing. This is about a half a cup of cashew milk, but you could use water. You can use whatever you want. This is just a creamy element. Most polenta recipes are going to have Parmesan cheese in them. Not against that. That's actually delicious. However, I'm gonna keep this baby completely dairy-free. Yum, yum, yum. And don't worry if it's thin, because it'll get nice and thick. Oil. We're gonna take a little grapeseed and just pour it right in the pan, just like that. And we have the pan on. This is medium-high heat. The one thing you want to do is make sure your mushrooms are nice and uniform. You want them just all in bits and pieces, but you want them in equal bits and pieces. And please don't be shy. You can use any kind of mushrooms. Like, this is really, the more kinds, the better. Even an enoki mushroom would be really yummy here. We're gonna take some thyme and put that in there because it's gonna be so flavorful and fragrant. Oh. Get them in there, baby. Some people would say, you don't want to salt mushrooms here because they're going to release all their liquids. I would say, I don't agree. That's okay if you want to salt right here. Even if they do release their liquid, we're going to cook these down anyway, so this should be fine. We're going to get a nice, good, crispy sear on these. You do want to make sure you're using oil for mushrooms because they'll stick. You want to season well. Once you do decide to season, you really want to season them good. You can already see the color. It's really nice on these mushrooms here. So if you are not a mushroom person, totally fine, all good, not mad at you. Any kind of root vegetable. This would be delicious. Carrots, particularly a sweeter carrot, like a white carrot, yellow carrots. So it typically goes in level of sweetness. So when you see a white carrot, really sweet, yellow carrot, sweet, orange carrot, sweet, how you know a carrot to be, and then red carrots have less sugar in them. Parsnips would be really delicious, rutabaga, celery root, kind of anything that gets nice and caramelized, like a sweet potato. Eggplant would be delicious. Even like some peppers, if you want to do like yellow peppers. We're going to add some thyme here. I'm going to come in here. So we're going to add some thyme to our mushrooms. And we're also going to smash a garlic. And the reason we're doing this at the end is because garlic is quick to burn. So we're just going to smash. This is a very loose recipe. This is like, we're having fun here, you know? And we're going to throw this smashed garlic and this thyme in. Beautiful. And you see these little bits on the pan? These are golden and valuable and yummy, and we're so excited about those little bits. About a tablespoon of vegan butter, and toss it in. Yum, yum, yum. Take your pan kind of at an angle here. You can see this butter starting to melt. And we're just gonna make sure you steep all your mushrooms here. And these are how you're also gonna get those flavor bits off the bottom of your pan. Now we're gonna come over here and grab some lemon zest right on top. And we're gonna leave those and just let those kind of keep cooking and doing their things. Turn off the heat. So here's our polenta, super creamy. If you wanna sit and let this thicken, by all means. I kind of like how spreadable it is. We're gonna take this. I love it just like this. It's kind of like soupy, porridgey. It will thicken. So if you sit this here, it might get a little skin on it and thicken. If you like it like that, by all means, look at that beautiful yellow. Does not make you feel good just looking at it. So we're gonna season. And a little season here. Beautiful. Even that yummy, chunky piece of garlic, delicious. Stunning. Just because I love a little texture. Pine nuts on top. Beautiful. There we go.